Hi all, welcome to Fox 10 News Now. I'm Kinsey Schofield, and I actually need to pull up my chat room because I don't have it up. So give me 2 seconds to do that. Hello everyone, welcome to the show. Happy Labor Day. It's one of those interesting holidays where we are going to be actively pursuing the news today. Yep. Troy just walked out for lunch, but hopefully he'll be back to talk to us about 18 years of blissful marriage. Let me show you this really precious photo he posted. Oh, I shared it because I just couldn't deal with how cute it was, of him and his wife, Steph. He talks about Steph here a lot on Fox 10 News Now and the girls. But he posted this really adorable picture that he's probably going to require that I show you a second time when he comes up and sits down. Actually, my internet's a bit slow, so I'm trying to pull up this picture of Troy and Steph from their weekend. Oh, are you kidding me? Look at this. Isn't that a sweet picture of Troy and Stephanie? And one of my favorite comments that I saw was from a viewer that said she remembers when they used to anchor together. And I asked him, I said, let me see some of that footage. I want to see some of it. So maybe we can throw back Thursday with some of that footage of Troy and Steph. But congratulations to them on celebrating 18 happy years. And when he gets back from his lunch, we'll talk to him. I know if you were watching the end of our afternoon show, Jude LaCava promised us a little action. We're going to talk cards, Diamondbacks, all that fun stuff, and movies. It's always a good... Jude is who knew Jude was going to be our movie buff, our movie expert here on News Now? Now we do. But it is kind of a slow news day because it's a holiday, and I'm just going to tell you that now. In case you see me talking about something that I typically wouldn't spend so much time on, and I'm just like, yes, let's talk about grass growing for an additional 15 minutes. Grass growth and the development of grass. If I do that for you, it's because I'm trying to stretch a story, because we got 2.5 hours. That's what we got. Rachel says Troy and Stephanie make a beautiful couple. That is so true. She is beautiful, says Deborah. Absolutely. But why don't you save these sweet comments for Troy, because he's the only one that can actually pass them on to Stephanie. But she is beautiful. They have two of the prettiest little girls, and I love them. So congratulations to them. I have a feeling that that's what we're going to be discussing with Troy Hayden when he comes and sits down with us. A lot of very controversial topics, very serious topics in my headline, because, I mean, that's what we're currently dealing with. The violence against the police. Let me see if I can pull up this package for you. This is Will Carr out of Fox National that put together this story, and I'll play this for you now, and we'll get through some of this heavier stuff early on. Perhaps we'll do it that way. And yeah, I've got a lot of good topics for you, and I look forward to your feedback in the chat room. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being with me.
As the manhunt for 3 cop killers enters its 6th day, friends and family laid to rest Lieutenant Charles Joseph Glinowitz, a 30-year police veteran, husband, and father of 4. Thousands showed up to Fox Lake, Illinois to offer an emotional farewell.
When we were growing up, we all knew Joe was a hero. But now the nation knows he's a hero.
Glinowitz's funeral comes one day after a suspect ambushed 2 officers sitting at an intersection in southwest Las Vegas. Police say the man walked up to their car, fired at least 3 times, and hit one officer in the hand. The other officer chased the man down and arrested him without firing a shot. No word on the suspect's motivation. It's the 2nd time a Las Vegas officer has been shot in just the past 3 days.
We've been rolling 2 officers through a car since this last Friday. And this was more or less not just because of a safety concern, but because it gives our officers a chance to decompress, talk to each other while they're driving around, and just gives them that extra measure of reassurance that they're going to be able to stay safe out there on the street.
Police around the country are on high alert after a string of surprise assaults on men in blue. On August 28th, Texas deputy Darren Goforth was murdered execution style after filling up at a gas station. 26 officers, including Goforth, have been shot and killed in the United States this year, 4 of whom died in ambush-style attacks. On Fox News Sunday, leaders in the law enforcement community were adamant that anti-police rhetoric is not helping.
If all you want to do is get up during a meeting and yell and scream and shout and then walk out, then you're not going to get too far because there's no opportunity for dialogue.
The president is missing an historic opportunity in which is to bridge the gap between the two parallel conversations going on right now.
There is some good news. A selfie of a Texas deputy and a teenager has gone viral. The teen offering to stand behind the deputy while she was filling up her car with gas and to protect her. The deputy saying, with everything going on nationwide, it's nice to know there are still some awesome people out there. Will Carr, Fox News.
That is horrible. And I will say I saw an officer. Do you want to do now or after lunch? What do you prefer?
It's good for you. Are you on a roll right now?
Well, let me get through some of my serious stuff. But are you going to go to lunch right now? Would you be back in like an hour?
Yeah.
Okay.
About an hour?
Well, I don't want to mess you up, though.
That's good.
That's good?
Yeah.
You complete me, Jude LaCava. You had me at I'll hang out with you tonight. Thank you. So what I was saying, though, is I saw an officer getting his dry cleaning the other day, and I said, I just want you to know that I appreciate you. And he was like, thank you. I really needed that. And I thought that that was a sweet exchange. I was like, I need to do that more often. Because most of them are good, kind people. Most of them are. I can't say all of them because I don't know all of them. But everyone I've encountered has been great. Like one time, I was pulled over and the officer said, do you know why I pulled you over? And I'm pretty sure it was because I was going a few miles over the speed limit. And I said, was it because I was listening to Ashley Simpson? And he laughed at me and he let me go. So that one's especially good. I especially enjoy that one. Bye. Love you. Prayer vigil out of Texas. We just discussed the officer that was shot. I know some of you saw his funeral earlier this morning on Fox 10 News. Now, I won't replay the funeral, but I do have some footage of a vigil that was held for him.
Leave their families, they leave their places of sanctuary, and they go out and they put themselves on the line.
In a county recently divided by controversy, residents decided to show their solidarity by holding a prayer walk and vigil.
All the bad things that have happened over the last couple of months, we just feel that the law enforcement needs to feel our support. They need to see our love. They need to see this community come together as one.
For law enforcement, the atmosphere has been tense after the ruthless shooting of Harris County Deputy Darren Goforth.
Thank you for your support.
On top of showing blue support, the walk also raised money for the wife and kids the deputy left behind.
We're trying to raise some money for his family and do things like that. It devastated everybody. It broke everybody's heart. It's just unbelievable, the evil that was out there.
Police say the community may be divided at times, but there are good people out there, more than there are bad.
I think it's a great opportunity to unite the community. I think it's an opportunity to bring people together that hadn't been together for a long time. The community has been divided a long time, and of course Waller County have issues. But I think events like this is what's going to help to heal and to deliver us from the evil that we've been wrapped around for the last few weeks.
More than 150 people took the walk from the Waller County Courthouse to the Sheriff's Office to show their unflagging support.
It's very important to show up just to show our law enforcement officers that we support them, that we believe in them, that we trust in what they do, and that we're going to stand behind them.
Residents say the hate has to stop, and that begins with open minds and hearts.
I think we need to come together as a country and start loving one another and being there for each other.
What the enemy meant for harm and destruction.
So I see here, this looks like a local story. I didn't pull this. Oh, this is for those of you requesting Troy. Here is a story. It's titled "Police Driver Lost Control, Collided with ... I don't see the rest of it. So let's experience this story together for the first time. And this is from just a few minutes ago with Troy and Carrie during our local TV broadcast.
Labor Day holiday gets disrupted in a big way in one Valley neighborhood.
Truck plows right through two houses and hits a gas meter and that causes a big natural gas leak.
Jessica Flores is live in Gilbert near Warner and Lindsay where this accident took place. Jess.
Hey guys, well right now everything is clear. Crews have been able to shut down that gas leak, but look at this scene right here. This is the damage left over. Luckily no one in these homes was injured, but sadly the driver of that truck did die. And as everyone was trying to get away from this scene, about 12 homes evacuated. One neighbor ran to it.
We heard a loud, noise, which was gas. I heard the loud, constant pressure coming out of pipes.
The truck slammed into one home's garage and a second home's kitchen, severing the gas line. When Paul Navarez down the street heard the trouble, first he made sure his family was at a safe distance. Then his instinct kicked in, not to run away, but to run towards it and help.
Gas is leaking, so to make sure no one's around, because if it ignites, then definitely going to be some trouble.
Navarro says he saw the driver inside the truck gasping for air.
I knew we had to get him away from the house because of the gas, so I knew we had to get him out.
Navarro says he and first responding Gilbert police officers started pulling the man out. They took the man down the street. Medics rushed the driver to the hospital where he later died. Police say the driver had a medical emergency when he crashed.
I'm all right, but when I start thinking about it, it's a life. Homeowner's insurance. He dies.
With the life or death moment settling in, Navarro says if he could, he would do it all again. He wants the victim's family to know their loved one wasn't alone.
Hopefully, they at least know that he was helped. He wasn't left,
And that victim's name has not been released. All we've been told is that it is an adult male. And as for this scene, as I said earlier, the families that live in these homes, they were home, but everyone is okay and just having to basically repair the damage that's left behind. Reporting live in Gilbert, I'm Jessica Flores, Fox 10 News.
That's an emotional interview with that witness there, and I'm sure, that's just, they had that little baby in his hand. That's so upsetting. Let's keep it local right now. This looks uplifting. Valley Vet Group donates car to military.
A Valley organization is giving a lift to an Arizona military veteran. For the past 3 years, Daisy Mountain veterans have been donating vehicles to deserving veterans, and today the organization donated their 8th vehicle.
John, here's the keys and the title. Congratulations. Thanks. And thank you for your service.
John and Jackie Plover called today's donation a blessing.
This is just like winning the lottery.
A stroke of good fortune in a year that's been full of setbacks.
The air conditioning in the house broke down. We have the air conditioning in both our cars broke down. We have other repairs that we have to do on the cars.
John Plover served in the military for 16 years, 10 in the Navy and 6 in the Army Reserve. He was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan and then given a medical retirement.
To be recognized is just a great honor and privilege.
The Daisy Mountain veterans work with Progressive Insurance to match deserving vets with reconditioned cars.
The engine has been totally redone. The transmission it's got new tires. It was as close to brand new as we could make it.
The Plovers say that their current car has more than 300,000 miles on it. It's getting too expensive to fix. They have 2 children and a 3rd one on the way. Today's gift means they can focus on what matters most, their family.
This is coming at an amazing time. It's a real godsend. It definitely is going to help us out.
Getting this, we feel really lucky, really blessed.
John has 2 friends, both Navy SEALs, who were killed in service. The Plovers, they plan to name their newborn babies after them if the baby is a boy.
Oh, what a sweet. That's a nice little balance there. But to go back to some unfortunate news, out of Florida, a veteran had his flag stolen. What?
I noticed right away that it was missing.
This replacement flag now flies on the flagpole in the front yard of 74-year-old David Barron's Orange City home, after the original American flag and POW flag that he's been flying for 7 years was stolen yesterday.
They had to unwind it, roll it down, unclip it. They took the clips too.
The 74-year-old Air Force veteran now has a lock on the flagpole.
See, I put a little winding lock.
In hopes that it won't happen again.
It's our country. We should be able to do what we want in our own yard, fly a flag or two. Nothing wrong with that.
Just a few blocks away, a similar theft at this Orange City home.
Well, it was the second time the flag got stolen. The first time was 3 weeks ago, and now the second time was yesterday.
Manuel Matute says the thieves actually had to climb over his fence and into his yard to get the American flag, which was hanging from this slot on the front of his house. Now deputies are investigating both incidents.
Well, I hope, they get these guys are doing this stuff because it doesn't make sense.
In Volusia County, Tiffany Teasley, Fox 35 News.
That's unnecessary and very unfortunate. I've got a couple of different Labor Day stories from across the globe, or just the country. Atlantic City, what are you doing for Labor Day?
Have an impression of Atlantic City? Well, leaders here are betting they can turn that image upside down. Last Labor Day, the news was of closing casinos, 4 of them out of business in 2014. But this Labor Day? Well, the movers and shakers are hoping you start to see it in a different light.
See something refreshed like this on the facade outside here with the light show. It's nice to see it bouncing back a little bit.
The head of the Atlantic City Chamber of Commerce says it's been a hugely successful summer. Business is up. They're still tallying the numbers.
There's just a lot going on in town. It's drawing people here.
With 2 concerts on the beach, headliners Maroon 5 and Rascal Flatts drawing tens of thousands of fans, the word is expect even more concerts to come. All aimed at showing out-of-towners it's not just about gaming anymore, unless, of course, you're talking Wild Game, a huge get for the city. When Bass Pro Shops moved in, the next closest is in Harrisburg. They expect to lure 1 million-plus customers annually.
It's great. I like it. It's big. You can find anything.
If not here, then here. The Tanger outlets were packed on this Labor Day weekend. This couple was here just a few months ago, and now they're back.
I mean, the outlets are definitely one of the keys that we came back. You get some great deals.
And then there's the new playground outside Caesars, a live music and concert venue. And contestants with the Miss America pageant are back in AC. It gets started on Tuesday. It seemed easy to find first-timers with a positive impression. Based on what you've seen, you'd come back?
I would come back.
And one of the city's biggest cheerleaders isn't surprised.
Change creates opportunity, and this is going to be a tremendous place. It will be at the top of the top once again.
Throughout the morning, thousands of union workers, from auto workers to carpenters and electricians, proudly wore their logos and marched through downtown with flags, banners, and trucks, and a marching band also performed. Governor Jay Nixon and Attorney General Chris Koster served as grand marshals. We caught up with the governor before the parade. He talked about the upcoming vote in the state legislature, which could override his veto of right to work. He says right to work would lower wages and make the workplace more dangerous for people.
30 years ago, I carried a laborer's card and it helped get me through college. Helped pay for that sweet cinnamon-colored gremlin I got back in the 70s. You know, I mean, these wages make a difference. And when you have safety on the workplace, too, and health care and things of that nature, it makes for a stronger workforce.
I worry about right to work coming to the state, but just like thousands of workers at my plant, we have over 4,500 people that work in my plant. And we've been working real hard, calling our representatives, telling them how bad it would be for working families. And, I'll be honest with you, I think we're going to win this fight again.
Governor Nixon also feels confident that his veto of this right-to-work bill will be sustained. A 2/3 majority in the state legislature is needed to override that veto. Reporting in downtown St. Louis, Rebecca Roberts, News 11.
Well, that's a new face that we haven't seen before. Well, nice to meet you, Rebecca.
The Labor Day holiday is all about backyard barbecues and weekend getaways, but if you have White House aspirations, Labor Day is actually when the real work begins.
I think Labor Day is important because Labor Day traditionally signals kids are going back to school, people are turning their focus away from the beach in the summer, and they're saying, what's ahead in the campaign?
I am announcing that I'm running for President of the United States.
With candidate announcements coming as early as March this past year, it may surprise some that for decades, September used to be the traditional time for campaign kickoffs. But with the cost of launching a presidential bid skyrocketing over the years, there's more pressure now than ever to enter the race early.
If you haven't raised the money, if you don't have the infrastructure, if you're not ready to go in Iowa, New Hampshire, just a few short months away, you can be in trouble.
With 17 Republican candidates and 5 Democrats already in the race, the 2016 nomination process is expected to be the costliest in history. Real estate mogul Donald Trump already said he's willing to spend about $1 billion of his own money as long as he continues to do well in the polls.
It's always been important money deadline. It's always sort of been the real traditional launch internally inside the campaign of the bear down and drive through Iowa, New Hampshire. I mean, the real launch, the start of the hand-to-hand combat in those key states.
While there's no shortage of candidates, there is growing dissatisfaction with some of the choices on both sides of the political aisle. Several Democratic candidates could make a late-inning entry into the race as Hillary Clinton's growing private email server controversy continues to plague her campaign. Among the names tossed around, former Vice President Al Gore and current Massachusetts Senator Elizabeth Warren. President Obama has even given his blessing for a Joe Biden run.
Somebody's not in the race by then doesn't mean they can't make a run for it, but if they're getting in after Labor Day, they've made it a lot tougher.
It's a calculated risk. Longer campaigns are both a blessing and a curse. The early announcements tend to get more media attention, but there's also the possibility that a candidate can peak in popularity too soon. In Washington, Joel Waldman, Fox News.
The Obama administration pulling out all the stops to show solidarity with union leaders on this Labor Day. The president making remarks to the Greater Boston Labor Council and signing an executive order requiring paid sick leave for employees of federal contractors. Under the new rules, workers will get a minimum of 1 hour of paid leave for every 30 hours of work, and that can add up to roughly 7 days per year.
Let's face it, nobody wants a waiter who feels like they have to come to work when they're coughing or contagious. But if they don't have sick leave, what are they going to do?
Vice President Joe Biden also hailing the achievements of the labor movement, linking it to the rise and fall of the middle class.
There wouldn't be a single basic right out there were it not for anyone working, but for labor.
The increased focus on labor comes as some union groups remain deeply skeptical about the president's commitment to the middle class, citing stagnant wages, rising inflations, and a strong push to secure new trade deals in Asia and Europe, which unions say could lead to widespread job losses here in the States. That concern echoed by some Democratic lawmakers on this Labor Day.
No one should lose a job in a trade deal that benefits giant corporations and leaves workers in the dust.
Meanwhile, the president's speech in Boston was actually boycotted by a union. The New England Police Benevolent Association said they skipped the speech because of what they're calling a clear lack of support for law enforcement from the president. At the White House, Kevin Cork, Fox News.
I think that almost sums up, well, what is this one? I was going to say, I think it sums up my Labor Day stories, but this one looks very Labor Day-y. And we were already into politics, so I was about to transition into politics. But let's get this one out of the way, too. It's a Patriot tour.
The final stretch of a cross-country ride ended the way it started, draped in colors.
The more that can be done for them and to show that support.
Hundreds rolled into Beaver Dam Saturday, capping a 100-day, 14,000-mile journey that took a single American flag through the 48 continental states.
Got some kids up here. Let's give them some flags.
Bill Bowitt had a few of his own to hand out. The Kiwanis member, an Army veteran, brought a stack so his neighbors could wave as the bikers came through. The Patriot Tour raises money for wounded veterans and their families.
I'm of the generation that went through where we kind of lost that, and now we're back to it, and it makes me very proud to be in a country that supports their troops.
There's a meaning behind the flag.
Molly Emerson was just passing through town when she heard about the ride. She grabbed the flag and decided to stay a while.
Well, I think a lot of our veterans especially come home and they don't feel that they've been appreciated what they've done for the country, and I think we need to show more support.
By the time the sun was high,
but we're here.
The bikers arrived, led by the well-traveled flag, followed by the flags of every state visited.
Commitment from the heart.
And we want to show our loyalty to the cause, as well as to show our patriotism to the good old USA.
Patriotism brought to you by Horsepower. In Beaver Dam, Jonathan Gregg, Fox 6 News.
All right, now we can transition into some politics. Let's check out the 2016 presidential race.
A possible surge for Bernie Sanders. The Vermont senator leads Hillary Clinton by 11 points in New Hampshire. That, according to a new NBC Marist poll. The former Secretary of State enjoying a 13-point lead over Sanders in July. Clinton still leads in Iowa, but Sanders cut into that as well.
They like Sanders for his personal attributes, not a position on any particular issue, but they think he has more appealing personal attributes than Hillary Clinton does.
Clinton campaigning in both states the past several days as she continues to deal with investigations into her personal email server during her time as secretary. She claims she's anticipated a close race all along and says she's going to work hard for every vote in the Granite State.
I've always thought this was going to be a competitive primary, and I welcome that. I think that this is a contest. It's a contest of ideas, of policies, of how we present ourselves to the American people.
The only other female candidate keeping the pressure on Clinton, Republican Carly Fiorina, knocking her for using the war on women rhetoric and slamming the 16 other GOP hopefuls in the process.
I feel sometimes as though I'm the only candidate who's consistently been critical of her. The truth is, Mrs. Clinton has lied as Secretary of State about Benghazi, about her emails, about her server.
Staying with the Republicans, the new poll shows Donald Trump with a 16-point lead in Iowa and 7-point lead in New Hampshire. In Washington, Doug McKelway, Fox News.
About an hour's drive north of Los Angeles, straight into the desert, Palmdale is an average American city. Racially and economically diverse. Ordinary, hard-working Americans, all with a theory on why the outsiders are running so strongly in the White House horse race.
I think people are really frightened of the legacy thing. Clinton point 2, Bush point 3, it's...
As she fed the 61 horses she cares for at the Lazy T Ranch, Nia Glenn told me simply there are no good choices.
My liberal friends, my conservative friends won't even consider the candidates that are up. There's no...
Really? It's that bad?
It's that bad.
We also checked in at BB's Barbershop. Over a very close shave, owner Nelson Ramirez told me career politicians just don't seem to care about the needs of ordinary Americans.
I don't believe everything they say until we see results, until one of them, walk in my shop and come and ask me, what do you need from us? What can we do for this community?
And he thinks business experience might be useful in the White House.
If they had experience in business, they'll be able to see our needs.
Across the street from BB's at her small bookstore, Rochelle Sinio feels career politicians have forgotten their roots.
Look at where all the money is coming from. The politicians, they just care about winning the next election, their election.
Rochelle is leaning toward GOP candidate Ben Carson, although she's not sure why.
It's really gut, it's you don't know these people. When you just see someone, you go, okay. I can go for him.
Back at the ranch, Nia Glenn offers hope for the establishment candidates. She believes a career politician will ultimately win the White House.
I'm waiting for the pendulum to swing back to sanity.
Interestingly, everyone we spoke to here believes the outsider surge is a temporary phenomenon and that politics as usual will return, even if they don't much like politics as usual. In Palmdale, Jonathan Hunt, Fox News.
Donald Trump stumbled on journalist Hugh Hewitt's foreign policy questions, confusing the Kurds, an ethnic group controlling northern Iraq, with Iran's Al-Quds forces led by General Qasem Soleimani, who violated UN sanctions on Iran by visiting Moscow.
I thought you said Kurds.
No.
I'm sorry. I thought you said Kurds.
Trump admitted he could not identify major terrorist leaders or the difference between the Palestinian terrorist group Hamas and the Iran-backed terrorist group Hezbollah.
So the difference between Hezbollah and Hamas does not matter to you yet, but it will.
It will when it's appropriate. I will know more about it than you know.
Do you know the players without a scorecard yet, Donald Trump?
No, I'll tell you honestly, I think by the time we get to office, they'll all be changed. They'll be all gone. I knew you were going to ask me things like this.
Hewitt defended his questions.
No, I don't believe in gotcha questions. I'm not trying to, quiz you on who the worst guy in the world
question,
is.
Though. I mean, when you're asking me about who's running this, that is not. I will be so good at the military, your head will spin.
Carly Fiorina went on after Trump, said she did not hear his interview, answered the same questions, and declared them fair.
I don't think they're gotcha questions at all. It is critically important that we have a leader in the White House who understands the world and who's in it and how it works.
Jeb Bush pounced last night.
You got to know who the players are. You need to know what the capabilities of the United States are. You need a strategy.
Trump called MSNBC to trash Hewitt this morning. This third-rate radio announcer that I did a show, it was like, got you. Every question was, do I know this one and that one? And, it was like he worked hard on that. Hewitt's hardly third-rate. GOP candidates flocked to his radio show, and he'll be posing more questions as part of the next debate in 12 days, something arranged long before Trump's interview. In Washington, Carl Cameron, Fox News.
Hillary Clinton tried to move past her escalating email crisis and the cold reception she's getting in some key early states by rallying supporters in the far warmer climate of San Juan, with an eye toward Puerto Rican voters in the critical battleground of Florida. Though the Sunshine State's own Marco Rubio was waiting for her with a rally here, and the Republican presidential hopeful charged the email controversy is rapidly moving from sloppiness to something far more sinister, after a report by Yahoo News that the former Clinton staffer who set up her server may also be pleading the fifth to the FBI.
This is evolving from just incompetence and mismanagement to potentially criminal activity. Hillary Clinton is a desperate candidate because she has a ticking time bomb on her hands when it comes to this email scandal.
Clinton today tried to push back in an exclusive interview with NBC News, in which she repeatedly refused to apologize to the American people, but tried to show contrition.
Well, it wasn't the best choice.
While for the second straight day, another top Clinton aide, this time Jake Sullivan, spent hours testifying behind closed doors to the House Select Committee on Benghazi. Clinton may not have helped her case when pressed on whether anyone in her inner circle thought it was a bad idea to set up her own server at the start of the Obama administration.
I was not thinking a lot when I got in. There was so much work to be done.
After a series of answers like that in recent weeks, including trying to joke about her server, Clinton's favorability rating is nearing a 23-year low in the latest Gallup poll, which shows 41% of American adults say they have a favorable opinion of the Democratic frontrunner, while 51% hold an unfavorable view. All of this has opened the door wide open for the possibility of Vice President Joe Biden entering the race. And last night in Atlanta, he gave the most extensive look at his thought process, growing emotional as he admitted he may not be able to move forward after his son's recent death.
But unless I can go to my party and the American people and say that I am able to devote my whole heart and my whole soul to this endeavor, it would not be appropriate.
Clinton has joined President Obama and Republican Jeb Bush in calling for Congress to give Puerto Rico the power to declare Chapter 9 bankruptcy in the face of a $72 billion debt crisis. Rubio opposes bankruptcy and joked at his rally today that perhaps Clinton's plan to fix it got wiped from her server. In San Juan, Ed Henry, Fox News.
The 2016 primary races continue to surprise. The once expected Clinton-Bush general election is now looking like less of a lock after these latest polls. Senator Bernie Sanders, the Vermont socialist, has a significant lead in the Democratic primary polls in his neighboring state of New Hampshire.
The NBC Marist poll says the Vermont senator leads former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton 41 to 32%. Vice President Joe Biden has 16%. Biden says he'll decide whether he's running by the end of the summer. Clinton says she expected a closer race.
I've always thought this was going to be a competitive primary, and I welcome that. I think that this is a contest. It's a contest of ideas, of policies, of how we present ourselves to the American people.
Iowa and New Hampshire are the first two nominating contests. Clinton still leads in Iowa polling, though that edge is shrinking. She maintains a commanding lead in the national polls. Meanwhile, Republicans continue to badger Clinton over investigations into her private email server, the one she used to conduct government business while Secretary of State.
Because it takes a lot of work to install a private server system in your basement. It takes a lot of work to make sure that you are having the right connections to conduct both personal and professional business over that system.
Meanwhile, on the Republican side, candidates with no previous political experience are widening their lead in the polls. Donald Trump and Dr. Ben Carson are well ahead of former Florida Governor Jeb Bush and the rest of the field. In Washington, Rich Edson, Fox News.
The Obama...
I think I played that one for you earlier. Oops. Oops. Dubs play. Let's this one struck me as interesting. This is out of Florida. We're on some of these smaller packages. It's a slow news day, guys. It's Labor Day. This story is out of Florida, and it says DNA solves murder case. I know that happens a lot, but I'm also a big fan of crime, so I'm interested in seeing what the circumstances are here.
The Air Jordans that deputies found in a cooler would come back to bite Jimmy Cruz.
Over the last 7 years, we have investigated this and put the different pieces to the puzzle together.
In 2008, Cruz, then 35 of Lake Hamilton, was trying to avoid a life sentence for drug charges by providing what deputies call substantial assistance, information that helps solve another crime.
So he's trying to help us on a couple of murders. So we follow up on the information, and it's bogus.
While out on bond, he calls detectives.
He reports a murder to us. Oh, there's this guy in the orange grove. He's been murdered.
Deputies find 19-year-old Michael Trammell shot to death. Cruz gives 2 names of supposed killers.
We investigate them, and they've got ironclad alibis.
And now, the shoes.
The evidence at the scene shows a size 13 sneaker.
Not only did the treads match what was at the scene, but there was DNA of 3 people on them. Jimmy's wife, Jimmy's brother, who was already in jail, and see where this is going?
So he's going, I've got to provide substantial assistance on a murder. So since they don't believe that, I'll just go murder someone. This is the craziest thing I've ever heard.
Deputies recently matched the DNA to Jimmy and reminded him of what Trammell's family told detectives.
They said the last time we saw the victim, he left with Jimmy. Are you kidding me?
The sheriff says the road to avoiding a life sentence for Jimmy was paved with another, and that killing a teenager, to him, was worth it.
He cares nothing about humanity.
Walker County Sheriff Steve Wilson tells me that 11-month-old Jackson Taylor was likely in the backseat of the car for about 2 hours by the time he was found. Tonight, investigators are interviewing his family and neighbors, but at this point, they say this child's death is likely a terrible accident. Cora Smallman heard the ambulances Saturday afternoon heading to the home of her neighbors, but she didn't find out what happened until Sunday morning.
It's heartbreaking. I can't imagine.
Walker County investigators tell Fox 5 11-month-old Jackson Taylor died here after being left inside a car by his grandparents.
At this point, there's nothing leading toward that, anything that was intentional.
but it's still too early to say.
Sheriff Steve Wilson says the grandparents, along with Jackson, a 19-year-old woman and her young daughter, all got home from church around 3 o'clock. Everybody got out of an SUV and went inside, everybody except for Jackson.
Somehow or another, each adult thought the other adult had the child.
2 hours later, authorities say Jackson's mother woke up from a nap after working the night shift at her job. They say that's when she asked the grandparents where Jackson was.
Immediately, the light went off and everyone realized that he wasn't in the house. She runs to the car. Lo and behold, worst case scenario, he's in the car, not breathing, apparently been probably dead for an hour at least.
Sheriff Wilson says it was at least 130 degrees inside the car, but at this point it appears to be an accident.
Again, it's hard to understand, but it is believable and it does happen that way.
And Sheriff Wilson tells me he expects the autopsy on Jackson Taylor to happen on Tuesday at the GBI Crime Lab in Atlanta. He also tells me the entire investigation will likely take several weeks. Reporting from Walker County, I'm Trevor Shirley, Fox 5 News.
Another story out of Georgia.
Something that we would never even imagine happening here.
It is quite unimaginable what happened inside this Forbes Trail home in Snellville Saturday morning.
Stated to our 911 operator that her sons were trying to kill her and her husband. There was commotion in the background and then the line went silent.
That frantic call came into 911 just before 8 a.m. Police say 22-year-old Christopher Irvin and his 17-year-old brother Cameron were attacking their parents.
She not been able to make that 911 call. It's very uncertain what would have happened.
When police arrived at the home, they saw the older son and the father emerge from the garage. So did neighbors who were trying to figure out what was happening.
He was bleeding very badly. I was very worried. I was extremely worried for him.
According to investigators, the father, Zachary Irvin, had been stabbed. Inside, his wife, Yvonne, also seriously injured. What's even more disturbing, police believe the sons may have had a plan to destroy the evidence.
There was a strong odor of natural gas in the home. Apparently there was an attempt by the sons to somehow instigate a fire at the house.
Both Christopher and Cameron were taken into custody at the home without a struggle. Police say they have been cooperative with the investigation. While they are still trying to figure out a motive, they credit the mother's 911 call she made while the husband distracted the sons for saving lives.
It's undetermined how much longer this event was going to continue before some finality was reached by the sons in whatever they were trying to do.
Yeah, that was out of Georgia. That's a frightening story. And there goes Dave Muncie. What's he got in his hands? Dinner. Delicious. I've got another one kind of on the crime side here about, this is out of Hawaii. This woman beaten and survives a home invasion. Some really disturbing graphics, visuals of this woman that was beaten in this home invasion out of Hawaii.
Kea Davis Milo has bruises on her face, bleeding in her eye, and swelling on her cheek.
This is the one that hurts.
She also has bruising on her arms and the back of her head after she was attacked inside her own kitchen on Tuesday morning.
My body didn't move. I just got to the point where I said stop fighting, because in the beginning I was fighting. I was trying to fight him anyway. But it didn't work.
It's the emotional scars that will take even more time to heal.
I just felt somebody choke me. He was just choking me.
Davis Milo was home alone when the suspect, Robert Parks, came into her home through an unlocked screen door. He has an extensive criminal background, including several felonies.
So I was trying to protect my face, so there's a space between the cabinet and the floor that I stuck my face in to try to protect my face, and he just continued to hit me. I would say it lasted about anywhere from maybe 7 to 9 minutes.
She tells me she hasn't been inside her kitchen since. Her family moved into this Y&I home in March, and the main gate was locked when Parks came in. Neighbors tell me this kind of thing doesn't happen on this street.
Do you feel like this is a safe neighborhood?
I do. I feel it's very safe. We've owned this property for about 6 years now. We've never had any incidences.
Davis Milo tells me she is praying for the man who attacked her and wants others to not let their guard down, even inside their own homes.
Now, before I go to the next story about a man that dies who was swept off a rock in Hawaii, I was going to go back to back with these Hawaii stories. I do want to acknowledge Hapalia in the chat room. She asks, did you all see the story where in Chicago they were picking pieces of a dismembered toddler out of a lake? And I wanted to let Hapalia know I will have that story coming up after this next story out of Hawaii, but I do have that story for you. So just give me a moment and we'll jump to that as well. But Hapalia and I, per usual, on the same page.
Just after noon today, emergency responders found 2 hikers on the off-limits Hanauma Bay Trail hiked near the area known as Baboon's Nose or Rock Bridge. The crews were called when a 22-year-old man, part of that group, was swept off the shoreline by a large wave.
His friend tried to save him but was unable to, and they lost sight of him and called. Some other bystanders called 911.
HFD says the 3 hikers serve in the Navy. Several people waited at the edge of the trail for word on their friend. Ocean Safety, the Coast Guard, and HPD joined in on the search.
6 to 8 foot surf today. It's pretty dangerous out there. We had to pull our personnel off the rocks. They were trying to do a coast search, and we had to get them up higher ground because the waves were too big.
All east-facing shores are under a high surf warning this weekend. Experts say waves are up to 18 feet. Unfortunately, a couple of hours later, HFD found the body of the missing man on the waters outside of Hanauma Bay.
And there was a close call at China Walls in Hawaii Kai this afternoon. 2 males found themselves in trouble trying to climb out of the water.
We were just out in the water swimming, and one of the kids was trying to climb out during a set and got washed up on the rocks and ended up getting swiped down along the wall and was trying to climb out as another wave comes and just gets blasted down the beach.
This group of swimmers say the swimmer in distress had another friend struggling. They tried helping and called 911. Both were able to get out of the water.
We thought we had just witnessed somebody drowning.
HFD is urging people to stay away from east-facing shores this weekend.
Oh, never turn your back on the ocean. Always use common sense. And if there's no lifeguards around, don't go near the water. Always check with the lifeguards. They're the experts.
Now I'll take you to that story out of Chicago about the child's remains found in the park.
Kids supposed to come into a park and play, not be found dead.
A gruesome discovery at a West Side park Saturday afternoon. Police say someone called 911 after seeing something suspicious in the Garfield Park Lagoon. Police arrived to find a child's left foot and eventually other body parts belonging to a toddler.
This is unthinkable that someone would dismember a child and then just throw them in here in the lagoon. That just hurts.
Police returned to the park Sunday morning to look for more evidence. Divers searching the shallow water, officers looking around the lagoon, and canine units hunting for clues. But 24 hours after the discovery, and 28th Ward Alderman Jason Irvin says still there are unanswered questions. Who is this child? How could this happen?
We just hope that someone can identify this young person, find out who is missing from their family, and say something.
If you don't want the baby, just leave the baby at a church or knock on the door and tell them you don't want the baby.
Residents say there is normally lots of activity in the park on Labor Day weekend. This police activity, however, is disturbing.
Just to find this going on is not a good thing for this area when everybody is really trying to do better.
Some say no matter what the circumstances, it's a reality check.
My little brother, he's 8 years old, so when we're walking through the park, it makes me be more aware and not to let him go off by himself.
Another story out of Illinois. Here we go.
26-year-old Melissa Schuster, lovingly called Mimi by her family, says she won.
I defeated him. I took him down, and he may have tried to do whatever he could to me, but ultimately, in the end, I won.
Moments after being discharged from the hospital, her family helped her into a wheelchair, Melissa wanting to share her story.
I have been talking about it since day one, and it is a huge relief.
She says her stab wounds are healing quickly, including the ones near her kidneys and liver. Most of the pain now, she says, is in her face. The attack left her with a broken nose and cheekbone and blurry vision in her left eye.
I actually saw myself for the first time in the mirror yesterday, and it kind of broke my heart a little bit. I was almost in tears, but then I realized, it's just kind of the beginning.
Melissa says her memory of the Saturday afternoon attack inside her home is foggy, but her escape is clear.
This is it. I'm not going to make it. I'm going to die. And then I looked down, I saw all the blood around me, and that's when all of a sudden in my head I said, I'm going to make it to my neighbor's house.
With her last ounce of energy, Melissa ran from her home to the neighbors. Days later, she picked Lawndale Madison out of a picture lineup.
He does not deserve to see the light of day. He is an animal.
Mimi wins. We have our daughter back.
She says she doesn't know exactly what her future holds, only that she wants to help others.
He may have hurt me and had all these, physical scars and imperfections now, but they'll go away over time. And ultimately, I'm alive and I'll be well, and I still have my family and everybody around me that loves me. So that's, he can't take that away from me.
I'm kind of, how do I put this? I think I'm on Labor Day brain. Labor Day brain. I just want to crawl under this desk and nap, perhaps enjoy a hot dog. But I'm kind of spiraling, running out of my national packages. So I'm going to play my second to last national package for you. This is about Reagan National Airport. Then I'm going to go to the Orlando flooding package out of Florida, because I think that's interesting. Then we're going to transition back into local with some Muncie. IfAle's still in the chat room, he'll appreciate that because he loves local weather. And then we're going to wrap up some of the other local stories we have from today. And I've got a very brief Hillary Clinton speech for you. Hey, Al! Welcome! Glad you're still here. And I have Jude Lakov coming up, and I am going to harass Troy Hayden to spend some time with us this evening, even if I have to turn the camera around and march right over to his desk and have the conversation there. I'm willing to do that because it's Labor Day and it's a slow news day, and when it's a slow news day, as you've seen typically on Fridays, that's when I go crazy. That's when I start doing laps around this place and periscoping. It's when the creativity happens. So let's jump into that second to last national story.
The petition. Tell John Boehner, rename Ronald Reagan Airport. To restore the airport's name back to Washington National Airport. Feelings at the airport, though, are mixed.
I think that's just silly. I mean, frankly, we have so many much more significant issues to deal with in Washington, D.C.
I think it's appropriate to change it back to Washington because it represents the area and our historic city of Washington, D.C.
Of course, with the names of two presidents involved, political opinions are close behind.
It represents our history and more of our heritage of America. And Ronald Reagan was a good president, but he wasn't a great president.
Well, Washington's the name of the city already and everything else, and I think Reagan was an excellent president. I think it was a smart move to honor his memory and put it in his name, and I think changing it back would just take that away.
But really, what's in a name?
I'd probably fly in here the same, and I'd feel real good about it. They can leave his statue out front. I mean, that's cool. But, Washington International, that really sounds like it's America.
When I'm in a rush, I say, oh, take me to Washington Airport. Sometimes I say DCA, sometimes I say Reagan National Airport. So I don't get the point of spending any energy on something like this.
The petition has already gathered over 50,000 signatures. Only time will tell where it goes from here.
I think they'll get a lot more. I think they'd have a lot of support to see it turn back to Washington.
Again, if they had uncovered something totally salacious and illegal done by him, one would question it. But, it's not like it's the Nixon National Airport.
Kelly Ozair, Fox 5 Local News.
The drive home has gotten a bit more complicated for Glorimar.
You're gonna have to record me trying to get my car. I'm gonna swim to it.
The Valley High Mobile Home Park where she lives has been flooded for days. Heavy rains in August, more than double the average for the month, have built up in the streets and yards near Kailua Lane.
And there's like mad kids here, and then they be playing there. The water could be infected, you never know.
Officials with the St. Johns River Management District say this area is often plagued with standing water and clogged drains. And with nearly a foot of rainfall over the last few weeks, that water has nowhere to go but up.
It's gonna get in the trailers because it's too much full.
I can't tell if that just abruptly stopped there. I can't tell if that was the end of the package. It ended on an exclamation point, I guess, but it didn't feel complete to me. So sometimes I pull these packages and they're not 100% complete, and I apologize for that. But that was one of those scenarios where I don't know what we just saw. It's Labor Day. It's a holiday. Let's head over and see what Dave Muncy has to say about the weather.
Exclusive AccuWeather forecast with Dave Muncy on Fox 10 News.
Well, hi, folks. Kind of an unusual day. The clouds coming through, a little bit of rain here and there, then some sunshine, kind of off and on for you. There's a chance of still getting some rain in the valley. It's 98 degrees right now. We have a few clouds out there. There's no wind at this hour. 57 degrees on the dew point, 26%. On the humidity, temperatures right now, 105 in Surprise, 96 at Fountain Hills, 93 in Mesa, 98 at Cave Creek, 98 in Ahwatukee. A little bit of moisture coming in, as we've mentioned already, through the day today, sliding in from the south and just kind of been hanging around. It hasn't really gotten going at this point in time, at least in Phoenix. It has to the north of us. You can see things kind of clearing out here as we go. This is a big storm system right here. This system blowing up right in this area right here, and near Wickenburg, Morristown. They expect this thing to have some blowout winds at about 50 miles an hour, and so they're keeping their eye on that particular storm. We got a couple of good storms coming up behind it as well, but this one right here, they're a little concerned with until about 5:30. They think that storm will die down just a little bit at that point in time. Other moisture that we have, you can see Hallbrook, Winslow getting a little shot of that stuff. Sholo about to get hit. Flagstaff has been hit a couple of times, and there's more to be had. As you can see, from Prescott all the way up to Flagstaff, we're seeing some pretty good moisture. I mentioned Sholo. You can see a storm encroaching on that area at this time, and the White River area has been in the soup through the day today. So as you can see here, the south really is drying up somewhat, and north of Phoenix, south of Phoenix, drying up somewhat at this point in time, although we do continue to have a slight chance of rain for the valley. We go to 98 for the high today, 95 in Mesa, 97 in Scottsdale, 102 at Luke, 111 is the record, 102 is the normal high temperature for this time of year. Other numbers that we have, 105 at Lake Havasu, 86 in Sedona, 75 in Flagstaff, 99 in Casa Grande today. There is your normal line from 102 to 100 in the next 10-day period. We sit right on it a couple of times, but look at that, yeah. We've got some 1.6s in there, just kind of hiding away. We'll get to those right before the weekend here. 98 on the high today, 85 on the low, 102 and 80, normal high and low. Record high 111, record low at 61 across the country. We do see a few storms kicking out in the midsection of the country, north to south. We have seen some fairly heavy rain up in Wisconsin at Marshville with 2 3/4 of an inch on the ground. Also, take a look at this. In one of these areas that's been very, very warm lately, finally starting to see some changes. 19 degrees at West Yellowstone, Montana this morning, so things are cooling off a little bit in that area. You can see here Billings at 74 today, 68 in Bismarck, and then look at Wichita, 102, Dallas at 101, line of demarcation right there, 82 in Denver, 82 in Minneapolis, 91 in St. Louis. Out here in the Northwest, we've got a nice looking 70 for Seattle, 75 for Portland. Overnight and tomorrow morning, mid-80s in some of our desert areas. We'll be looking at the 40s as far as our mountains are concerned tomorrow afternoon. Very near normal seasonal temperatures across the state. Overnight, we'll be looking at 84 degrees, slight chance of rain, 104 degrees for tomorrow. By Wednesday, another chance of rain with 101 degrees. It says warming, but you see 100 degrees there. Yeah, take a look at Friday and Saturday as we start moving into the weekend. We start warming things up to 100 to 105 and 106 degrees. Things are getting warmer out there, but there is still a chance of rain tonight. Watch your kids around water.
In a similar category here, I've got cemetery damaged by some of our monsoon weather. Ooh, that's strange.
At 5 o'clock, a Valley cemetery heavily damaged by a monsoon storm, and the families who have people buried there, they want that damage fixed. The Greenwood Memory Lawn and Mortuary was in the path of last week's monsoon.
We first showed you pictures of the damage yesterday. Uprooted trees, damaged headstones there.
Linda Williams reached out to the company in charge of that cemetery. She joins us live now with an update on the damage and the repairs. Linda.
Troy, Carrie, there's a family out there very upset about what they saw this weekend when they went to that cemetery. They say their loved ones are buried there. Now, this is a huge property in Central Phoenix near 27th Avenue and Van Buren. And from the looks of things, 1 week ago, it was monsoon central. Today, it's still quite a mess. These are the kinds of scenes that greeted Sandra Vilas Saturday when she went to visit the graves of her son and nephew at Greenwood Memory Lawn Cemetery in Phoenix.
It's my nephew. He's buried right by a tree. The tree is tipped over, the headstone is standing up.
Greenwood Cemetery tells us, in fact, 37 trees were impacted in last Monday night's storm. The 200-acre cemetery at 27th Avenue in Van Buren was in an area that was likely hit by a microburst. Vilas says it has been a week since that storm blew through, and it was upsetting to see the cemetery still in such a terrible state.
Brought me tears to see all this damage is done, knowing that my son was there.
Her son's headstone was not impacted, but she says he's been buried here 25 years, and she wants it to be a peaceful, final resting place.
I just want everything put the way it was, and don't matter if they're not alive or what. In my eyes, they're not resting.
Greenwood's parent company is in Houston, Texas. They sent us a statement reading in part, "We have assessed the damage to the park and are working to address the damage and clean up the park. No grave sites have been exposed or compromised. Some headstones and grave markers have shifted as a result of the trees uprooting. Our staff is working to replace all damaged markers as soon as the cleanup is completed." That cleanup's going to take a while. The cemetery tells me they hired an outside crew to deal with the widespread damage. It is substantial. You saw the pictures, and they say it's just going to take some time to clean all of that up. Reporting live, I'm Linda Williams, Fox 10 News.
All right, thank you, Linda. Well,
I feel so whiny because I have pitched in numerous editorial meetings the cleanup process of the monsoon, because I will notice, and one of my bosses here was like, well, call the city. But I have noticed that monsoon trash, damage, trees, leaves, just all of the things that happen throughout the monsoon, that they will stay in my neighborhood for weeks, and nothing drives me more crazy than a huge branch that's like in front of the that's in my way, in the road, that's clearly on my neighbor's property. And I have to drive past it. I guess I could get out and move it, but I don't want to break a nail. But yeah, I mean, to go visit your son and your nephew at a cemetery and see that their gravestone has been interrupted or is Why am I not capable of forming sentences today? I feel like Scott Walker. He had a hard time one time, and I won't let it go. And I won't let it go. Here's another story we've got out of Tempe. They're investigating a kidnapping. Tempe police.
Fox 10 News alert out of Tempe. Police investigating a possible kidnapping and sexual abuse case. Police early this morning say an 18-year-old woman walked into a Chevron gas station at Broadway and McClintock and told the clerk that she'd been kidnapped while walking home from a party. The victim also told police she was sexually abused before she was able to escape. A person of interest in this case is in custody.
In Peoria, police sorting out the details of a shooting that happened early.
Tonight, there are plans to honor Kayla Mueller. She's the humanitarian from Prescott who died in Syria earlier this year after she was captured in 2013 by the Islamic State militants.
Her parents are working with the Prescott Kiwanis Club and the city of Prescott to build a playground in her name. And Steve Kraft joins us live to tell us more about what's going on. Steve?
Well, Kayla Mueller was just 26 when she died. She was dedicated to human rights and especially improving the plight of women and children in the war-torn Middle East. A playground in her hometown, a fitting way to honor her memory. There's a perfect site for this playground, right next to a popular roller hockey rink in Prescott.
We're going to have a state-of-the-art surface that's safe for kids to fall off of the equipment. If they do, we hope they don't. It's also going to have some of the latest and greatest equipment manufactured by the playground manufacturers.
For Kayla's parents, the idea of a playground dedicated to her memory is something very special.
It's hard to express how important it is. We don't have a grave. I intend to spend a lot of time here with the kids and watching them play. And Kayla, even as a young adult, would go to playgrounds and play and just be with the kids. So it's going to be real important for us.
Plans for this park so important to Kayla's parents because she cared so deeply about kids.
So just for Heart for Women and Children, they'll be able to come here. It's usually the moms that are with their kids. They can have their kids playing hockey and having their little ones over here in the park. So I guess that's it. Kayla's Heart for Women and Children.
The goal is to raise $80,000 to build the playground. The Muellers hoping people donate the money to make it happen. If you'd like to donate money to help build the Kayla's Hands Playground at Pioneer Park in Prescott, check out our website, fox10phoenix.com. We've got the information on how to help. Reporting live, Steve Kraft, Fox 10 News.
And I know some of you saw some of these pieces of interview from earlier of Kayla Mueller. Her family in regards to this playground. Steve Kraft, he was in traffic for hours just trying to get back today after this interview, so he wasn't even actually capable of sitting down and talking to us, which he usually really enjoys. But we do have some of that raw interview right here for you.
Well, it's so important to our family to have this playground and be dedicated to Kayla for the work that she was trying to do. It's very important. It's just another example of this wonderful community supporting us and backing us, and it's hard to express how important it is. We don't have a grave. I intend to spend a lot of time here with the kids and watching them play. And Kayla, even as a young adult, would go to playgrounds and play and just be with the kids. So it's going to be real important for us, I think.
And tell us how you think this would be a wonderful way to honor Kayla's memory.
Well, Kayla had such a love for children and women with children. You know, over there in Syria, she would talk about along the Turkey border how these women, their husbands were missing. So it was the women and the children. And so just for Heart for Women and Children, they'll be able to come here. It's usually the moms that are with their kids. They can have their kids playing hockey and having their little ones over here in the park. So I guess that's it. Kayla's Heart for Women and Children.
Let me ask you guys what you make of this whole business of all these refugees that are now the big headline in the world, all coming out of Syria. all descending on Europe.
Yeah.
It just seems like everything's getting to be such a mess.
It is a mess. Kayla, 2.5 years ago, said at Kiwanis, she wanted to tell Kiwanis about a young woman who came to her and said, "Where is the world?" And Kayla said, all I could do was cry with her. But she said she would ask when she came here, "Where is the world?"
Where is the world?
And that was in May of 2013.
They've ignored this situation. The whole world's ignored this situation over there and just let it go. And it's not just our government, it's the world.
Right,
and now we have hundreds of thousands of refugees trying to escape the horror in their country. They leave with a backpack, everything. And they try to find a peaceful place to live. And all the countries over there, Jordan and Turkey, they've been inundated for years with hundreds of thousands of refugees. Well, now they're starting to come to Europe, and probably there will be some coming here. It's a very sad situation. Where's the world?
So Kayla saw into the future.
She did, absolutely. When she spoke to Kiwanis in May of 2013, she was asked, what can be done? And she said, a no-fly zone over the refugee camps would be a big plus. And I heard recently in the news that that's being discussed. Well, she knew that in 2013. The refugee camps were being bombed and hit by bombs. So when is the world going to really come together and put an end to it? I have no idea. But this is the repercussions.
We're drawing awareness to it, and that's a start.
Yeah.
What is your message to folks about helping out on this project? You need to raise $80,000. Marcia, what would your message be to our viewers?
Well, it's hard to think about this park with everything going on over there, but this park with this playground would be a place for us to come. We don't have Kayla here. Kayla's over there in Syria somewhere. I don't know that we will ever have Kayla. So this is kind of our place to have Kayla. But I'd also like to say that, there's so much the world can do with food and clothing and medical supplies, all the needs of those people over there, all over there, in Syria, in Turkey, in Jordan, in Lebanon, heading off to Hungary and Austria and Germany and France. They need so much help. So those countries need our help to help those people.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
Oh, that is so upsetting to watch. And when the dad when we zoomed out and the dad had his tissue in his hand, my heart broke a little. I don't know if you saw that earlier. I know that Samia played it for you, but that was my first time seeing it, so I appreciate you letting me experience that with you, even if you've already seen it before. I do appreciate that. And this is Gary Ballard in regards to the Kayla Mueller story. Steve Kraft talked to him earlier today.
Her work as a humanitarian all over the world.
And what does a signature playground mean?
We're going to have a state-of-the-art surface that's safe for kids to fall off of the equipment. If they do, we hope they don't. It's also going to have some of the latest and greatest equipment manufactured by the playground manufacturers. We also intend to have some adult playground equipment for the grandmas and grandpas that bring their kids out.
So they can do pull-ups or?
They can do pull-ups.
Military-style push-ups or what?
They can do some pull-ups. There's some equipment that they can stand on and jog back and forth in place. And there's some things that they can push against. Just real low-impact stuff for the old folks.
Well, that's a pretty good idea. I could go for that. What help do you need from our viewers?
Steve, we need all the help we can get with donations. We'd like for people to send us cash, if possible. Checks would be great. We'd like to have them made out to the Kiwanis Club of Prescott Community Foundation, Post Office Box 1020, Prescott, Arizona 86302.
Checks, I think, would be better.
Checks would be great, yes.
Yeah,
if they need more information, they can call the Kiwanis office 928-445-8700.
Is there going to be like a bank account set up so folks can go to a bank and donate money that way?
Have we set that up? We haven't set that up
Okay,
yet.
well,
That's
for
a
the
great
moment, I'll
idea.
tell people to send in.
We're just using our community foundation.
Okay. All right, but typically, though, lots of times folks will say, go to any Bank of America branch, and, you know, it's the Kayla Mueller Playground Foundation, whatever it is you set up, and that way, that's a good way to generate.
Yeah, that would be a great idea.
All right, so you got my card. Just let me know when that happens.
Okay, I'll do so, Steve. Thank you.
You were great. That's all I need to ask you.
Sports, and you want to,
I do want to talk
this
sports.
This is game week. Cardinals.
I do want to talk sports. What I really would love to know is your opinion on the female cards coach.
Jen Welter and Floyd Mayweather.
Yes. What is your opinion on that? Because I thought.
Are we live now?
Yeah, we're on. Hey.
Okay.
Because when
I'll keep it clean then. I don't want to go
when I originally saw that headline, I thought, cool move, because I like Floyd as a boxer. I like Floyd as a public figure. I love Bieber, and that's one of his posse members. But somebody tweeted me at Common Sense, I believe it was, tweeted me, why would she do that when he's got domestic violence in his past? And I was like, wow, that's a legitimate question. That is a very good point.
That also may be the legitimate answer. So let's look at it this way. Now, she responded to that question, and she was criticized right away on social media. I think it was ESPN's Michelle Beadle said, "Well, why would you do that? You just finished
Michelle
your."
Beadle, I love Michelle. I've met Michelle. I've spent some time with Michelle. But why does she always find herself in the center of controversy?
Because she wants to.
Yeah.
and I think she's talented. I like her stuff. But I would say this, that you have Jen Welter, who has her PhD in psychology. She's coming off a high-profile experience. She's been on ESPN, the first female coaching intern. And now she jumps, what apparently is, on a plane to Las Vegas to spend time with Floyd Mayweather. Now, her explanation is very simple. Mm-hmm. Saying, well, rather than deny that he has a domestic violence problem, that's exactly why I'm going there. I am making an attempt to address this with him, and if he is making the attempt by his handlers to address this with me, why would I want to ignore his past and not address it? That's her response. She's simply saying, look, I am a psychologist. She has worked with athletes. She's coming off the momentum of a pretty big event in her life. And now I think she's parlaying that to, okay, can I be a sports psychologist to where I say to the highest profile boxer in the world right now, I'm going to deal with your behavioral issues, and we're going to talk about this. I believe that is her intent.
That's neat.
So if that's
because you
her
wouldn't
intent,
come out
you
and
have to
say
say
that either. You wouldn't be like, yeah, I'm going to go and I'm going to corner him and I'm going to rip
this guy.
into him.
You know, well,
yeah,
I mean,
you wouldn't say that.
You know, I think that here's the upside and downside. Okay, Jen is she's really sharp, and I'm impressed with her. The downside is I don't want teams or athletes to use her as a publicity stunt to say, see, look, I'm talking to a woman. The NFL, domestic violence issues, okay? For all accounts, she really...
But did we just do that?
Well, I mean...
Did we just do that? Because
I
really thought that they would offer her a job after this.
I thought the Cardinals handled it really well. I thought that what the response I heard from players, and I talked to them on the record and off the record, that she really did a very decent job. And I thought there was also a form of symbolism here to say, look, the league is welcoming women to its coaching staff, and this is a first step. And I credit Coach Arians with that. But I'm also saying that who's to say because she's high profile, somebody like Floyd doesn't use her as a symbol. See, I'm trying to rehab my image too. I'm trying to rehab my image, and I'm going to bring her up here, and she's going to spend time.
I thought that was a blatant. He was blatantly doing that. Yeah.
So that's going to be the question that follows her. Now, the only.
But if you're unemployed, is that? Do you care? Are you unemployed?
No, I don't care. I mean, look, there's the attempt made, there's the image remake, and then there's the reality. Now, if there's a softer side to Floyd Mayweather that we see in the future, that he admits some of these wrongdoings and horrible acts, and we see something change, then we can see results. The proof is always in the results. Mm-hmm. So let's see what he does. before, after the fight, when he addresses the media and says, this is what I'm doing, this is what I want, this is what I'm trying to do.
Well, and is it that big of a deal, or could he invite, like, if he invited me to do it, no one would care? You know what?
Well, I mean, no offense, but you don't have a PhD in psychology yet, and I don't think you've got a track record of sitting down. Athletes have a ton of issues.
Yeah.
They may be really great at running the football, or hitting the 28-foot, jump shot, or rebounding, or quarterbacking, whatever you want to call it.
So it's not the actual act of what he invited her to participate in, because that's what I'm referencing. Because to me, it just seems like is it the act of what he invited her to do, which is like walk with him to the ring at his next
no, I
fight,
think
or it's because of her
from what
background?
she said on Gannett earlier this evening, she is going there with the intent of precisely addressing the issues that he's been involved with in a negative way, his domestic violence issues. She is there with the intent to discuss and address these issues. Now, how she plans about going about that, I don't know. How open is he to that? I don't know, and it's the first step. So, I think we're going to have to wait and see. Is Jen Welter the domestic violence expert that's going to look at what he's been dealing with and whatever this issue is? I can't answer that either. But let's see if there's any result.
Do you think that somebody just spit that out in the midst of like a really great limousine ride with champagne flowing? Like, hey, we should have Jen.
Let's get Jen Welter up here.
So,
Maybe we'll look like we're really
was it
embracing.
Actually discussed, and were there exchanges in regards to repercussions?
I'll say this. I think when the issue came up with Coach Arians, and he mentioned at the NFL meetings in the spring, he says, I'd be open to a woman coming to coach if she can better my players. And I think he went with that intent. Now, there's going to be some skeptics out there that still say to this day, well, it's a PR move. But the players actually were impressed with her knowledge, her passion, the way she communicated with them. She's a very articulate, sharp woman that's been through a lot in terms of her education and her own playing career. So I think we have to just wait and see. I think what happened here with the Cardinals was a success. And by all accounts, she contributed in a significant way. Now, can she step out of that and deal with maybe public enemy number one, a guy who's really not, he's a very talented boxer, but he's not well liked. He's kind of this dastardly character that has had domestic violence issues. Can she address that? I don't know. I think we have to wait and see and what he says and what the plan is.
I think that's a cool storyline, though.
It is.
It's going to be interesting to see how it unfolds. Because what happens if they become best friends and he cleans up his act?
He's got a lot of cleaning up to do, in my book. He's a great boxer, but I've never liked his style. I've never liked, look, I know boxers try to sell tickets. The champ used to do that back in the days, Muhammad Ali, but I just never liked his edge. There's some guys that are really likable, and Ali became adored later in his career. George Foreman became absolutely adored later in his career when he won the title in his mid-40s.
I adore him thanks to that grill.
He's selling grills, and he's
grill.
mufflers and helping inventors.
Next, he's going to be selling like jeggings.
You never know, but he's also a very smart businessman. But I want to see how that plays out.
Yeah, I think that's going to be exciting for you and I to continue to discuss how it unfolds.
She's becoming a little bit of a player here, and I think we want to see what she can do, actually accomplish with somebody who's, kind of a problem, to say the least.
Tess asks, do you think that Jen will work in the NFL again?
I think she's going to work in football again. I don't know whether it's going to be at the collegiate level, at the Arena Football League level. Somebody is going to look at her and see two things. Somebody that knows football, somebody that handles the media really well, and somebody that could be, let's say, let me throw this at you, and it's not the NFL, but it's popular, and we have a team here, the Arizona Rattlers, maybe the first female head coach in arena football that puts a really good staff together and is great with the media, and somebody in the league will say, I want to hire her. That's a possibility, and from there, who knows? Maybe she keeps climbing the ranks.
What's did anything about spring training or has anything about the Cardinals surprised you so far this season? I guess it's just now starting, but
this is big game week. I think that I'm a little more concerned about the offensive line because of Carson Palmer's injury issues. protection issues are back in focus again because he got hit a lot in some of these preseason games. On the upside, they've got tremendous team speed. I think their wide receiving core is going to be really exciting to watch. Their defense should be good to very good again. And with a little bit of luck, when I mean luck, can they stay healthy? Can Carson stay healthy? And that's the key to this. And by the way, I did tell you about Tom Brady before, didn't I, on your show?
I tweeted it, yeah.
Okay, so I think if Carson can play 14 of the 16 games,
You're like a psychic, Jude.
they will be in the postseason.
So
playoffs.
Is Carson Palmer? I told one of my friends that it sounded like a beverage. I was like, "What? Carson? Is that a beverage?"
A little lemonade and iced tea. And Carson Palmer.
Is Carson Palmer? Is he who you would? Is he what you would consider the superstar of the Cards? Is he what Kurt Warner used
I think
to be?
he's. I wouldn't put him in Kurt's class, but I think he's a very underrated quarterback. I've always liked him. I think he's never been with the right team, and I would like to see him get his due. He's a very dedicated. He was beloved by his teammates, hardworking. He's not one of these quarterback prima donna types. He's a really good dude, and it would be nice to see late in his career for him to make a run at a Super Bowl. But I consider him a top 10, 12 quarterback. He's in the top third of the league. He's really good. And not a lot of people do that. But can you name, we always like to throw different things out there. I want you to know, can you name this tune here? And see if you can.
Likely copywritten, so.
Wait. Okay, here we go. Hold on one second. Now that was, we're trying to skip the, okay, here we go right here.
Is this the man from Uncle?
That is correct.
Oh, yay!
Okay, now do they have it? They have the same names, Napoleon Solo.
Yes.
And Ilya Kuryakin.
I don't know about the second one, but I'm sure if Napoleon Solo is normal.
Okay, here's one for you if you really like.
They play different characters.
What does Uncle stand for? Does any of your fine
I
knowledgeable?
saw at the end it was like United.
United Network Command for Law and Enforcement.
I was telling Jude earlier.
Can you name the chief adversary from Uncle? Who was the biggest, like the evil empire they were?
I don't remember.
Thrush.
I was telling Jude I saw this movie this weekend and I was so obsessed with the girl and the mods
Now you're
and
dressing
the
like
costumes.
that now.
Yeah, that I did my eye makeup and everything. I'm totally gonna redo my wardrobe. Like I'm just ready to go back to the '60s.
Man,
and
from
I
Uncle's
never.
cool, man.
It is so cool. It was so cool.
Now, can you imagine as a little kid? I mean, the TV show was a huge hit. I mean, it was a big hit.
Now you and your wife have to go to the movies and see it because you're going to come back to me and you're going to go, Kinsey, you're absolutely right. It's the best movie I've seen all year. I told him it's the best movie I've seen all year. It was, and you asked if it was like intense, and it wasn't intense. It was cute and it was funny and it was quirky, and Guy Ritchie's just so quirky and great. And
he's good.
And there were, there were these parts where you felt like it was supposed to be intense, but the way that Guy Ritchie cut it up, and he would there were times where multiple scenes were going on, the way he'd cut up the screen, and where you felt like you were watching something that was supposed to be exaggerated, he minimalized it with all these little screens. It's
Talented guy.
Yeah, like there was.
I want you to download some old episodes of The Man from Uncle.
But I don't know if I'm going to like him as much.
No, you will. This was really this was a big hit. And what was interesting about it in the mid-'60s is that Robert Vaughn played Napoleon Solo, and David McCallum played Ilya Kuryakin. And Robert Vaughn was an American, and Kuryakin was a Soviet. These guys were actually working together, which was really a novel idea at that time in the mid-'60s, in the height of the Cold War. And they were out to get Thrush. Thrush stood for, I think, undesirables.
Oh, that's cool.
If you were tagged an element of Thrush, but I'm glad to see it come back because it was probably one of the most underrated TV series in a long time. It was a fabulous hit.
Well, the way they left.
Two great actors.
The way they left. Well, these were great. The guys that they've got in this one, they're so cute. I love Armie Hammer.
Past and present.
Yeah.
From Uncle.
But the
on
way
this
that
show.
they set it up is they're ready for episode. Are they ready for the second?
So we're looking at a series.
Yeah, we're looking at a series.
Whoa.
We're looking at a franchise here. And have you ever seen the comic Archer?
No, but I did see a comic Friday night.
Oh, who? Oh, you saw the
Paul
guy that
Morrissey.
used, the guy that
Yes,
used to
our
intern
intern.
for you. Tell me about that. I heard
He was the last comic, new comic, on the now David Letterman show, and he was our intern in the late '90s. And he actually became a sports anchor in Chico, California.
Wow.
And then he said, "I've had it with this," and he chucked it all, moved to New York City, started writing for the Artie Lang show, and doing different bits, and then decided to hit the stand-up comedy routine, and his name's Paul Morrissey, and he was he's got some courage, man. He's got some good material, and he was the headliner at House of Comedy.
Oh wow, yeah, because I know Martine went to see him too, because he came
Not
in
bad.
and I guess was interviewed here, which has got to be fun.
Yes.
To leave an intern and come back a special guest.
It was pretty wild because he remembered the good old days, like he was. When we had different bits on the show, we did some ridiculous things like the Wall of Fire. You remember?
Yeah, I do.
No, he's done well. I mean, you make it to the David Letterman show, and now he's going to be doing, I think, some work with Craig Ferguson. He did some work with Craig Ferguson. He's going to do some work with Jimmy Fallon. So how about that?
I should have made I should have made contact with this guy.
You better believe it.
I love Jimmy
Paul
Fallon.
Morrissey.
I love Jimmy Fallon. Ale, I'm not scrolling up. I have to do more things than you do. So if you have a question for Jude, you can copy and paste. You scroll up
Matt
and
Barkley.
ask it.
I'll say this real quick. I'm Matt Barkley. No problem. We are a hybrid, eclectic show. Matt Barkley is better than what they had, and what they had was Philip Sims and Logan Thomas. And I think Matt comes from a pro set system at USC. Tim Tebow was also released.
I love Tim Tebow, John 3:16.
But I think Matt has a strong enough arm, smart enough football IQ to be a very good backup someday. He just needs to be in the right system, and I don't think he was with the right system with Chip Kelly. I actually like Matt Barkley. They worked him out before the draft a few years ago before he was drafted. So I would say this, best available backup quarterback, a little bit better than Philip Sims, although I like Sims, and significantly better than Logan Thomas. So I think it's a nice pickup.
Okay. All right. I have to tell you, too, today you're wearing a yellow shirt and a really beautiful striped tie. But the tie, I had a dress that matched the tie that I wish I would have kept, but I just recently consigned it. But I was like, oh, I could stand next to Jude and we could look like the cutest Christmas card on earth.
Like from, like something out of The Man from U.N.C.L.E.
Yes, we would look so swaggy. It's ridiculous.
So that's kind of an interesting item, but...
Ale asks if I was mad. No, I'm just teasing.
Nevertheless, it's game week, and now one other sports item: ASU got clobbered by Texas A&M
That's
Saturday
right,
night.
they did. Go Texas.
And they'll regroup this week. So it was a disappointing performance. I thought that.
Not if you are from Texas.
You're from Texas originally.
Yes.
Houston, Texas. Is that where you go down
No,
there?
I was born in Austin and grew up in
Austin.
Dallas, but I like everything Texas, especially my boyfriend.
Now, does that mean that you would be in favor of Texas seceding from the Union? There's been this movement of Texas wants to become its own country.
I'd move back to Texas.
I think it already is.
I would move
It
back.
already
I'd be
is.
a part of the party.
They do whatever they want there.
That's right. I say that all the time. I just said that at dinner. I was like, I do whatever I want. I'm not going to eat this lettuce wrapped with lettuce. I'm just going to eat the meat. I do what I want.
That's Texas.
Yeah. All right. Well, I appreciate your time.
Certainly.
You're my favorite sports guy.
Thank you.
Anchor.
I'm the only sports guy you know, but that's just a minor detail.
Anchor.
But what I was going to tell you is that one other interesting item.
You always leave with one.
I try to leave.
If it's not Sasquatch.
There is a movie coming out in a couple of months called Concussion with one of your favorites, Will Smith. He's going to be in the.
I do love Will Smith.
He's going to be the lead. Okay, and now imagine this: the title of the movie is Concussion, so you know this is really going to shake it up. And it's about the NFL, and it's about the Hispanic neurologist that discovered CTE. And it's a fascinating story, and I think the league is going to be very cautious about this. But
well, this is like when Scientology released, or when the HBO did the series on Scientology,
Yes.
and Scientology got like, they
Very
hired like how
defensive.
many lawyers? Remember, there were like 90
Right.
lawyers reps to go because they
Yes.
were so scared of Scientology.
Well, I think that the moms in this country run this country. I've always believed that. Women control the world. But what I find interesting is that the moms out there, they're going to say to their little Johnnies, "You're not playing Pop Warner football." When I see a movie like this, or I read this story, or that gives me to one of the tweets I put out today. Here's another rookie, former Packers wide receiver.
Oh, wow.
Announced retirement following severe grade 3 concussion. So here's another young guy that came into the league with hopes and dreams, and he gets whacked, with some brain trauma, and he said, "That's it. Like 23, 24, I'm done with the game."
Ugh.
So we're seeing this more and more, and I just want to see how the league counters. How will they adjust? How will they continue to try to keep it what it is, the most popular sport in America, and still try to make it safer at the same time? So this is a real convergence of issues. I liken this to 10, 12 years ago when baseball had the steroid scandal, and everybody knew what was obvious with Sosa and Bonds, and these guys were looking like middle linebackers and hitting 73 home runs.
Mm-hmm.
This is a big credibility issue. It's an issue of safety. It's an issue of our time when it comes to this sport. So just a heads up that you're going to be hearing more about that.
That's going to be interesting.
Definitely.
People should follow you on Twitter for more interesting
Please
things.
do.
What's your Twitter handle?
@JudeFox10. And what is my handle on Facebook again?
Facebook.com/Fox10Jude.
Thank you.
Because someone stole your other one.
Yes, there's a Jude Fox out there that apparently is putting out some interesting information, but nevertheless.
It's a girl.
Yeah, hey, I mean, look.
Yeah, it's not as interesting as yours.
Well, thank you.
All right, we love you, Jude. I have to ask somebody something, so excuse me while I mute. Let's see here. That's not Jude LaCava. No one screen grab that.
I also believe strongly that our country and our economy does better when we have a Democrat in the White House. And, we were just at this great big rally in Rock Island, and there I said to the crowd that was gathered that we've had 5 presidents in the last 35 years. We've had 3 Republicans and 2 Democrats. And I am privileged to have known both of the Democrats. And I will tell you, Bill Clinton and Barack Obama came into office inheriting a bunch of economic problems from their Republican predecessors. And what they had to do, in my husband's case, I can tell you, he had to figure out how to get incomes rising, jobs growing, and to make it happen for everybody, not just those at the top, but people in the middle and at the bottom. And he did, so that after 8 years, we had the longest peacetime expansion in new jobs, 23 million new jobs, and incomes rose across the board. It was one of the first times in decades where we began to see how important it was and how possible it was with the right values and the hard work of the American people to really reward the efforts that people were putting in their jobs, in their small businesses. And then I went to the Senate in 2001, and I'll tell you, I watched George W. Bush and his Republican administration try to reverse everything that had been done. And they did a really good job of it, didn't they? They drove us into a ditch. And they did it because they continued to believe that the only way that anybody should be involved in the economy is to do exactly what you're told by the people on top, the big corporations, and get out of the way of trickle-down economics. It didn't work before. It can't work again. Now, after Barack Obama was elected, he called me and asked me to come to Chicago to see him, and I did. And I didn't know why. It turns out he wanted to ask me to be Secretary of State, but what he started talking to me about was how terrible the economy was. It was bad. We knew it was bad. But he said he had no idea how bad it was, and that we were on the brink of much worse than what we'd had. And you remember how bad it was. We were losing 800,000 jobs a month. Millions of people were losing the homes that they had spent so many years buying, trying to pay off. It was terrible. It made me sick to my stomach because I had on the Senate floor time and time again said that the policies that the Bush administration were following when it came to our economy were wrong, and they were going to hurt us. Back in Iowa, in the 2008 campaign, no reason any of you should remember this, I actually ran an ad warning before everything hit the fan that we were going to have a terrible mortgage crisis. I called for the end of a lot of those crazy financial transactions. I was way out in front on this.
Welcome back, Jublikava.
All right, here's a question for you. What's missing today for the first time in many, 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 many decades?
What's missing in what category of life?
Like every Labor Day, a very famous comedian would host this event, and it was, at one point, in the 60s, it was extreme.
It Jerry?
Lewis.
Jerry Lewis, yeah.
Do you miss the Jerry's Kids
Yeah.
telethon?
Yeah.
Because some people don't, some people do.
I mean, there was always something newsworthy that happened there.
I mean, it became kind of a staple.
Yeah.
It was like the start of the fall. It certainly was for a great cause. It raised a lot of money.
You kind of
for MDA.
saw who was relevant, around
in entertainment.
Town. Yeah.
But this is the very first Labor Day where there is absolutely no telethon. I mean, they used to carry it here, where you had the fire departments and the various companies that were involved raising money, and it became kind of like, oh yeah, okay, the next day is back to school type of thing. Or school starts earlier out here, but back in the Midwest or the East. Now it's gone for the first time, I think, since maybe 59 or 1960.
No, that is interesting.
So,
I didn't know that. My heart's been sad because it's been a year since Joan Rivers died. I think it was Friday, and I was like, wow, I can't. It's been
it's been a year already. But I thought that was kind of interesting because most people would, and I don't know, maybe that's a generational thing. Maybe
I knew what you were talking about.
Just that I throw. How many people out in your fine viewing audience even reflect on that? No.
They're just back to asking you sports questions.
Yes, it's back to questions. Thoughts on Nelson? I think Nelson, look, he's unbelievably quick. J.J. Nelson, the question is, my thoughts on the rookie wide receiver from UAB. This is like sports talk mixed in with telethon talk.
Yeah.
Famous telethons of years gone by. I remember a moment, too, by the way, when Sinatra reunited Jerry Lewis and Dean Martin on the telethon. This was this is, again, like late 70s.
Yeah.
A little bit of entertainment history, but JJ's a fine receiver. He's a little on the thin side. I worry about his durability for a 16-game schedule, but he is John Brown times 2. So what that means is you got a speed guy in John Brown, you've got another speed guy in J.J. Nelson, and what that will do for the passing game for Carson will be amazing. Because one thing the cornerbacks, secondaries, do not want, they don't want to get embarrassed. They don't want to get beat on deep, long pass plays. So if he can hold up, stay healthy, it's another added speed dimension to a high-powered passing game. Ed McMahon was another guy that would be kind of Jerry's
Sidekick.
Yes.
Yeah, no, I think you're the only person, or you're my only source today that brought that up.
Maybe that's a generational thing. And on that note,
I love when Jude does pop-ins. He needs more. I need more of those in my life. I need a more Jude LaCava in my life.
Have a terrible mortgage crisis. I called for the end of a lot of those crazy financial transactions. I was way out in front on this. And then it happened. And it was an economic disaster. Thanks to the hard work of the American people, many of you here, you took 2 jobs, 2 shifts, you postponed home repairs, you postponed doing everything you could in order to be able to stay afloat. We began to dig ourselves out of that hole. And I also think President Obama deserves more credit than he gets for leading us and making some very hard decisions. You know, he saved the auto industry. He began the crackdown on Wall Street abuse, which we got to continue and make real so they don't get away with the stuff they did before. And 16 million people now have health care who didn't have it before. So I am proud to be a Democrat. I am a true Democrat. I believe that our values are the right ones for America, and I'm going to fight for them in the primary and in the general election. And I think that we can make the case to the American people, starting here in Iowa, that we will not go back to trickle-down economics. You listen to those 17 on the other side. You hear them. Their answer to everything is cut taxes on the wealthy, get out of the way of corporations, and let them do whatever they please. When it comes to treating workers, busting unions, polluting the atmosphere, whatever it might be, if they want to do it, that's fine with the Republicans. Well, it isn't fine with me, and it's wrong for America, and we're going to stand up against it. Now, we had a great event earlier in Cedar Rapids, too. We had a big picnic there, and a bunch of the people who were there that I was talking to, you know, they were quoting Harry Truman, give them hell. Well, you know, you remember, Harry Truman said, I just tell the facts, and they think I'm giving them hell. Well, we're going to tell the facts. And the facts are on our side. And the facts are on the side of growing the middle class again, on protecting the rights of people in America to join unions, to bargain collectively, to build a better future, including a stronger middle class. I am very confident that we can make that case. But we have to win the election to actually deliver results. And I believe, starting right here in Iowa, if you will help me, if you will join with Dave Loebsack in working with my campaign, we will build a strong campaign, not just for the caucuses, as important as that is, but to win Iowa in November of 2016, to put it back strongly in the blue column. I've been laying out policies in this campaign. You know, I take seriously what I want to do as your president. And I know that, you know, it's summertime. You know, it's kind of hard to focus on the kind of things that I've been talking about, but we're going to keep talking about them. Number one, we are going to raise the minimum wage. We're going to raise it so that people who work full-time will not still be in poverty. We are going to end the abomination of something called the tipped minimum wage. You know what that is? People who work as in hair salons or in as waitresses or in bars, they, in many places, don't have to be paid more than $2.13 an hour because the theory is they're going to get all these tips. That is a recipe for exploitation, particularly of women, and we're going to end that form of wage theft. We are also going to really crack down on employers who exploit workers. They steal their wages. They don't do the right things when it comes to safety in the workplace. They misclassify workers so they don't have to pay them what they should. I want to send a few people to jail to set an example that you don't exploit workers in America. That is going to end. We are also going to finally get equal pay for equal work for hardworking women in our country who deserve to be paid fairly. And, you know, this is not a woman's issue. This is an economic issue. It's a family issue. If you're being cheated, and we know the Lilly Ledbetter case. Remember Lilly Ledbetter? She worked in a factory in Alabama. She rose through the ranks. She actually became, a manager of some sort on the line. She was the only woman. She later found out she was never paid the same for doing the same job. Well, here comes the train, and that's okay. We need more rail, and we need more transportation. We need more infrastructure. It's a perfect timing. I am tired of the United States not investing in our physical infrastructure. And I'm going to advocate for, and with Dave's help, we're going to get done something called an infrastructure bank. Now, why is that important? Because right now, you rely on the Republicans in Congress. They won't even pay to pave the roads or build new ones or to fix our ports, our airports, and in many instances, our inadequate rail system. We've got to have a system that doesn't rely on the Congress to continue to build, maintain, repair our infrastructure. And we can put a lot of people to work. And I'll tell you another way we can put a lot of people to work is if we make up our minds to become the 21st century clean energy superpower. And we make up our minds that we're going to invest the way Iowa has invested. You guys get nearly 30% of your electricity from wind. You are the highest producer on a per capita basis because Texas is ahead of you, but they're so big. And you guys are showing how it can be done. I go around bragging about you everywhere. Your work with advanced biofuels, I think, will lead to using biofuels in aviation fuel, not just for commercial, but also for military aircraft eventually. And I'm a big believer in solar. By the end of my first term as president, I want us to have installed 500 million more solar panels. And by the end of the second term, I want us to have produced enough clean, renewable energy to fuel every home in America. And I know we can do this. I'm tired of Americans saying we can't do things. We are the can-do nation, aren't we? And we can treat our people right, and we can set some big goals, and we can achieve them together. That's what I want to do as your president. I can remember President Kennedy saying we were going to send a man to the moon within the decade. People laughed at that. They thought, we can't do that. You know, maybe in 20 years or something. We did it because we didn't listen to the naysayers. We didn't listen to the people who kept complaining and wringing their hands. We just got about the business of doing it. I want to also make sure that for education means we listen to our teachers. They are on the front lines of education, and I want them to be leading us the way we should go to provide quality education for everybody. I also think we got to invest in preschool and early childhood education to give every kid a chance to get off to a good start. And I have a plan to make college affordable so that if you go to a 4-year public college or university, you would not have to borrow money for tuition. That is my goal. And I want to refinance all the debt that's out there. How many of you have student debt? Or how many are you parents or grandparents who are guaranteeing and supporting student debt? It's $1.2 trillion. I have met kids right here in Iowa who can't start a business they want to start. They can't move out of their parents' house. They can't get married. They're not contributing to the economy the way that they could. I want that to change. So I'm going to be working to defend the Affordable Care Act. I'm going to be working to make sure we treat substance abuse and mental health the way that we should. I've been talking so much, you know. And on the very first day I'm president, we are going to fight against all the efforts to undermine the American labor movement, because I don't think we can have a strong economy with a growing middle class if people are stopped from joining unions, if people who are in unions don't have to contribute to the benefits they get from collective bargaining. I think we have to enforce the overtime rules. I think we generally have to get back to what worked for us for a very long time. Now, I have no illusions about how hard all of this will be, because the other side has already said they will spend, do, or say whatever it takes to win. And they have a particular concern about me. I take it as kind of a compliment, to be honest, right? Because they know I mean what I say, and I want you to know that. You know, Dave's right. I started off working as a lawyer for kids, poor kids, abused kids, kids with disabilities. In Arkansas, I started an organization called the Arkansas Children and Families Organization, Arkansas Advocates for Children and Families. When I was in the White House, you know I tried to get health care. They beat me up really bad. Then I turned around and I said, okay, we're going to do it for kids. And we did. We got the Children's Health Insurance Program, covers 8.5 million kids. We got it done. In the Senate, within, half a year of my being elected, 9/11 happened. I was representing New York. And I had to do everything I could to help the people that I was responsible for. And so I worked really hard, not only to protect our country, but to make sure that those who lost family members were taken care of, people who were injured were taken care of. And I saw very early that our first responders, construction workers who dropped what they were doing, they ran toward danger, not away from it. They labored on what we called the pile that burned for weeks. First, to see if anybody was left alive. Second, to begin to sift through it, to find remains so that family members could be given that sense of closure. And I saw that our first responders were suffering because they were getting sick from doing the work that they did. And our construction workers, iron workers, electricians, plumbers, laborers, you name it, all the building and trades guys, they were getting sick too. So I was determined we were going to take care of them. I had strong, strong support from labor when I ran for the Senate and when I was reelected. The first time I ran, in 2000, I got 55% of the vote, over 3.7 million votes. When I ran for reelection 6 years later, I got 67% of the vote, more than 3 million votes. And a lot of those votes were from working people, from union members who endorsed me and worked with me, because they know when I tell you, I'm with you, I stay hitched. I work as hard as I can to get done what we need for our families and our children and our workers. So I'm asking for your help. I'm asking for you to be part of this campaign. I know that we're just really getting warmed up. It's only Labor Day. But I want to build a strong organization here in Iowa that will not only do what we need to do in the caucus, but send a message that we're coming after those Republicans and their allies who would turn the clock back on America. I take this pretty personally, not only because I'm a granddaughter of a factory worker myself. My grandfather worked in the Scranton lace mills for many years. Wonderful man. And he worked hard because he believed in the promise of America, the basic bargain. If you work hard, you do your part, you can get ahead and stay ahead. And he wanted that for his kids. And one of them, my father, got to go to college. And then he got to have a job and start a small business. My mother had a miserable childhood. She was rejected and abandoned by her parents and by her grandparents. So by the age of 14, she was working as a housemaid in somebody else's house. But she never gave up. And she always believed if she worked hard, despite all the obstacles she confronted in life, she could have her own family someday. And she was a great mom. Now I'm a grandmother. And I'll tell you, it's the best thing ever Terry Loebsack and I were trading pictures as we were coming over here. It's unlike any experience. You just fall in love all over again, for those of you who are members of the Grandparents Club. So my granddaughter is going to be 1 at the end of this month, and my experience, my short experience being a grandmother, is number 1, you just can't take your eyes off of her, and everything she does is just amazing. You know, she learned to clap her hands, and Bill and I gave her a standing ovation. We were just thrilled about it. But then you quickly think, we want to do everything we can to give her every opportunity so she can make the most out of her life. But what kind of country is going to be waiting for her? Is it the kind of country I grew up in, or that my dad or my grandfather came to as a young immigrant? Is it going to be that kind of country that watches your back, creates opportunity, builds those ladders of opportunity Dave was talking about, that Tom Harkin talked about for all his years in public life? Or is it going to be something else, where you got the rich and then you got everybody else, and you don't have the kind of vibrant middle class where people believe that life can get better, that the life of their children will be better? That's really up to us, and that's what this campaign is about. That's why I'm working so hard, because I want to make sure that it's not just a granddaughter of a former president, but it can be the granddaughter of a factory worker or the grandson of a truck driver, that every single person in America will have the same shot to get the kind of life that their hard work and effort should reward them with. That's what I will work on every single day. I need your help to get us there. Thank you all, and happy Labor Day.
Let's hear it for Hillary Clinton. All right. Go, Hillary. Let's make it happen. We're going to say hi.
And I know some of you saw this earlier, but just to give you kind of I don't know, just to give you kind of the other side or a different flavor, let's look at some of Carly Fiorina from earlier today. Carly's really going after Hillary. Hillary has yet to actually acknowledge it, though.
Our president must understand technology. It's kind of important in the 21st century. It's a really powerful tool, but it's also... Our president must understand technology. It's kind of important in the 21st century. It's a really powerful tool, but it's also a weapon that is being used against us. And no, Mrs. Clinton, you do not clean a server with a towel. And you actually can have a couple accounts on your email server, and let us tell the truth. We cannot have a president of the United States who has lied about a purposeful terrorist attack, who lies about her emails, and who lies about the server in her basement either. And finally, we need a president who understands what leadership is. That leadership is about challenging the status quo, because the status quo of Washington and the professional political class needs challenging now. A leader who understands that sometimes a tough call is needed in a tough time, for which you're prepared to stand and be held to account. The highest calling of leadership, however, is not about title. It's not about how big your office is. It's not even about how big your airplane or your helicopter are. The highest calling of leadership is to unlock potential in others. The potential of this nation must be unleashed and unlocked once again. And so let me leave you with this thought. I think every day as I campaign throughout New Hampshire and elsewhere in America about what this nation must be, what we can be, what we will be under a President Fiorina. And I think of the two most powerful symbols of our nation's democracy, because they tell us all we need to know about who we are and who we must be. Lady Liberty and Lady Justice. Picture for a moment Lady Liberty in your mind. She stands tall and strong, as America must always be. She is clear-eyed and resolute. She doesn't shield her eyes from the realities of the world. She faces outward into the world. And she holds her torch high because she knows she is a beacon of hope in a very troubled, very dangerous world. And Lady Justice holds a sword by her side because she's a fighter. She is a warrior for the values and the principles that have made this nation great. She holds a scale in the other hand. And with that scale, she says, all of us are equal in the eyes of God. And so all of us must be equal in the eyes of the law and government, powerful and powerless alike. And she wears a blindfold. And with that blindfold, I think she says to us that it must be true. It can be true that in this nation, in this century, it truly does not matter what you look like. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter how you start, and it doesn't matter your circumstances. Here in this nation, it must be true that every American's life is filled with the possibilities that come from their God-given gifts. One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. God bless you, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much. God bless you. Happy Labor Day.
Our next speaker is Chairman of the New Hampshire GOP, Jennifer Horn. Oh my God, I hate going after Carly Fiorina. How excited are you to see her on the debate stage next week, huh? And can I just say one more time, how lucky are we in the great state of New Hampshire to have Senator Kelly Ayotte representing us in Washington. I'm really excited to be here. I love seeing such a big crowd. It's going to be an exciting election that we have coming up, and you've got some people speaking after me. They're going to be a lot more interesting than I am, so I'll try to keep it brief. You know, I'm so excited about what's coming up for us right now. When we look at the difference between what the Republicans have to offer, what the Democrats have to offer, the choice could not be more clear. When you look at our slate of that broad, diverse, qualified candidates for President of the United States, and you look at what the Democrats are trying to put up there, I don't know how it could be any clearer for anybody. But the problem is we're seeing it here in New Hampshire as well. When we look at what Governor Maggie Hassan has offered our state in the way of lack of leadership, lack of a balanced budget, lack of foresight to plan for the future of our state, it's depressing almost when you look at that. And then when you look at who we have, folks running up against her. I hear there was some exciting news here earlier today. Is Chris Sununu running for governor? Is that what I heard? Let me just remind you about the character that Chris Sununu brings to the table for everybody here, folks. This is a guy who has served our state for many years, who has brought the best forward that we could possibly ask for, and Chris Sununu, as compared to Governor Hassan, understands the difference between politics and principle. Let's not forget what's been happening with all.
We need to make sure we follow through on our campaign promises because they sent such a clear message. They didn't want us nibble around the edges. We need to make sure we follow through on our campaign promises because they sent such a clear message. They didn't want us nibble around the edges. They wanted big, bold reform. I said it's put up or shut up time was what I told them. Of course, I was in open caucus, so as you can imagine, that was the headline in the paper the next day. Walker says put up or shut up. But I think it's about time we told the politicians in Washington it's put up or shut up time. You told us we were going to repeal Obamacare if you elect the Republican Senate. It's time to actually deliver on it. You said that we're going to stand up for the American people. Well, it's time to prove it. I think the frustration is not just with Obama. It's not just with the Democrats. It's even with some of the Republican leaders down there who made promises they're not able to deliver on now. Well, I hope the one thing you've seen from my state is not long after saying that to our Republicans in the legislature, saying put up or shut up, about a month or two later, we took office. The very first day after taking the oath of office, I had our state sign up to be a part of the lawsuit against Obamacare. I called the legislature into a special session to start taking power away from the government and putting it back into the hands of the people. And going forward, not long after that, about a month after that, we introduced The big bold reforms that challenged collective bargaining and took power out of the hands of the big government union bosses and put it firmly into the hands of the hardworking taxpayers in our state. I had somebody in the media here ask me earlier, how does it feel to be Scott Walker on Labor Day? I said, it's great, because I'm pro-worker and I'm pro-taxpayer. See, I'm glad to see the president's consistent, because earlier today, you may not have heard about it, but down in Boston, he came out of Washington, D.C. up to Boston, and he attacked me for the second year in a row. Last year, he actually came to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, right before my election to attack me. And earlier this year, when I signed the law that made Wisconsin the 25th state in the nation to have the freedom to work through right-to-work legislation, he came out and attacked me then. And you know why he did it today as well? Because they're doing something right. You're right. Because out of all these great candidates, and there's many out there, you know who people like the president and Hillary Clinton and the left fear the most? Me. Not because the others don't mean it, but because I've actually stood up against everything they had. Not long after taking office, not long after pushing our reforms, they helped send in over 100,000 protesters. They did death threats against me. They did threats against my family. They did threats against our state senate. And you know what? We didn't back down. They tried to intimidate us because that's what they do at the local, at the state, the federal level, and we didn't back down. And we got through that. In fact, they were so threatened by this, they had 14 Senate Democrats get up and leave the state of Wisconsin and go to Illinois. After we were all said and done, one of my favorite bumper stickers was one where somebody gave me, it said, 1 walker beats 14 runners. Because we didn't back down, and they tried to take out a member of the Supreme Court. We didn't back down. They tried to take out 6 of our state senators. We didn't back down. They tried to make me a model for the rest of the country for the left by taking me out in a recall election. We didn't back down. They made me the #1 target last year in the re-election. In the Senate, in the House, and governor, in the entire country, I was #1 target for the labor unions and the left. We didn't back down. If you elect me as your next president, I will not back down any day, anyhow, anyway. I will fight and win for you and your families. So there's a lot of good people out there. But I understand why voters are a little bit suspect. Because you see, you voted for people in the past who sounded pretty good, who said the right thing. And then they didn't do it. They backed down. They were a little bit intimidated. They were pushed back in Washington. America made an even bigger mistake. I doubt any of you here did, but America made a pretty big mistake back in 2008 when they put someone in office who'd never run anything, who'd never been in charge of anything in government, who didn't have any experience, who promised hope and change. Well, we don't have any hope left, and all we got is change in our pockets, right? So it's about time we put someone who's been tested. I have been tested more than anyone in this race. When we talk about taking power out of the hands of the elite in Washington and putting it back into your hands here and in every other state across America, you don't have to doubt it, because I don't back down. I don't back down in Wisconsin, and I'm not going to back down in Wisconsin. I ask for your vote. I'll be back often. Thanks for having me out here today. God bless you, and we'll see you on the campaign trail.
All right, guys, 5 more minutes and we're going to be starting the auction. And the raffle winners will be noted over at the booth.
Hi, Governor. Nice to meet you. Can we get a picture with you? Sure. Get somebody to take it. And then they were the husband had a teacher. And then they come to the free back down.
That's a fancy one.
Hello? Can I get everybody's attention? We want to auction off a football sign by Jeb Bush that says Free Brady. So, all you bidders out there, do I have an opening bid? 1 Bitcoin? Oh boy. Wow. That's a tough crowd. Come on, guys. How much? What did John say?
That must have been tough to
50?
have that cover last year.
51.
Wilson's from Wisconsin.
I got 51 from.
When he beat us in the playoffs, that was our only solace.
75 from Ed. 100 from Chuck. Come on, guys. This is a collector's item here. Come on. 150 from Bob Elliott. I like it.
You know, we were only like 5 minutes.
Where are my big bidders? Mike Petrilli.
Glad you made it.
One.
And with 12 minutes left in the show, let's do some newsroom spying. I'm over here. But we're getting ready. We're gearing up for our 9 p.m. broadcast right now. Troy Hayden's in for John Hook. And so it's going to be Troy Hayden and Carrie Lake. Carrie Lake, the dynamic duo, as they say. Ale, no, he can't. But you can see everybody kind of It looks like Troy's reading over his script on his computer. And I'm gonna leave that up for you. Sorry for yawning. Sorry for yawning. It's Labor Day. I'm gonna leave this up for you so you can kind of see everybody gear up here in a minute. You'll see people jumping up, putting their mics on, running into the studio. The studio's to the left. Do you see that red wall? That's the studio. Somebody's walking. That's Hal walking into it right now. Frankie says very peaceful. It is very peaceful. Can I walk into the studio before it starts? I probably can. Oh man, I've never ever used this source before. So I apologize for its weirdness. Oh, we'll do this. We'll go sideways. Yeah, there's Carrie and Troy getting ready. Let me see, can I hear myself? Hopefully you can hear me, but I'm not sure. Hi, hey there, Brent. Hey. This is my first ever time using Periscope. Hopefully you can hear me, but I'm not sure. Hi, hey there, Brent. Hey. This is my first ever time using Periscope. I don't know how I feel about it. Hi. There's our conference room. What do you want? I'm periscoping. Be nice to me.
He's bad now.
This is Glenn. He has my heart. Love you, Mina. Let's check out. This is a tease for our 9 p.m. This is one of the stories. I'm sideways because I'm also airing this on Fox 10 News Now right now. This is one of the stories we're working on tonight. The 5-year-old son of porn star Jenna Jameson's ex-husband rejected from Scottsdale Christian School due to his family's line of work. You can take a look at our beautiful set. Isn't it just so it's gorgeous. This must be Jenna Jameson's ex. This is Dave Munsey's setup. This is also Dave Munsey's setup. Here, Glenn, do me a favor. Do me a solid. Will you hold this while I pretend to do the weather for 2 seconds?
Well, is he saying like weird stuff or just kind of yeah, you should get on that.
Thanks, Glenn. It's true. Half of your job is just hanging out with me. Oh, look. First on Fox. Christy, can I show the people you and your curlers on Periscope? You don't have to. It's the thought that counts. It's the fact that you would let it. Are you ready? You don't have to. It's the thought that counts. It's the fact that you would let me. Are you ready? And now I'm going to show you a peek at my spirit animal.
Oh, I'm your spirit animal? Hi there.
You're
This
so
is how we
cute.
get the hair big.
I
You
love
start
you.
with some Velcro rollers, and then you get in there with a back comb.
You're
But you
so
don't want to
cute.
go like this, like they do in the movies. That's
No.
wrong. That takes the back combing out. Up and down.
Up and down.
And then put some hairspray all over it.
You're so amazing.
Such is the key.
Thank you.
But it
That's
falls
beautiful.
flat in a few minutes anyway.
Thank you, ma'am. Let's see. Slide down to stop. Is that how you do it? I don't even remember how not to. I could flip it. Turn it off.
Hi, no, it's me. This is a slow news day. Can you tell?
Slide down to stop. Is that how you do it?
Hi, no, it's me. This is a slow news day. Can you tell?
All right, let's see here. One of the questions in the chat room says, what does the sign say on the door? It says caution, robotic cameras in operation. Caution. So that means don't walk in and stand still and get run over by a robot. That I think is the actual concern. And while I have this beautiful view, let me show you Phoenix right now. This is Tower Cam. Unbelievably gorgeous. Beautiful tower cam. Let me see if I can get any more questions from you in regards to our little tour we just took. Somebody asked if he was miking up. He probably was. The couch is so beautiful, says Elle. Yes, it's absolutely gorgeous. It's the prettiest couch I've ever seen. Tess, I love you. Thank you for loving the tour. Gail loves it when Andrea sits on the couch. I prefer when John Hook sits on the couch and reads from the teleprompter, and you have no idea that he's sitting there reading from the teleprompter. It's like an illusion, because you're at home looking at generic B-roll, assuming that John Hook is still standing next to Carrie Lake, reciting the teleprompter, but in reality, he's chilling on that couch. Awesome, cool. That was cool, says Frankie. Tess, this is so much fun. I'm glad you said that. Oh, yeah. Happilia says these people all look great on TV. You'd think they all had professional stylists doing that stuff for them. Yep, we don't. We are here doing it ourselves. Oh, the green background is our weather map. That's why I was like, hearts, hearts. Like weather coming. But it was the hearts from the... That was a joke. Do I drive a lifted 4x4 truck? No, but interesting question. Thank you, Frankie. Thank you for watching. Thanks, Frankie and Joni. And thank you to the two people that thumbs down my video. That was greatly appreciated. Shout out to you. Shout out to the people that thumbs down my video. Like, no hard feelings. It's whatever. Inception. It is 9 o'clock though, which means if you are local, you should turn on channel 10. If you're not local, you can head on over to fox10phoenix.com and download our free app. It's so free. It's so amazing. And it's the best way to stream our online content, quite frankly. So you should head over to fox10phoenix.com to watch our local television news broadcast. Or if you'd like to download our app that's free, you should follow us on Twitter, you should like us on Facebook, but you should definitely turn on Channel 10 right now or watch our live stream of our television news broadcasters. Troy Hayden and Carrie Lake are phenomenal, and they're way better at delivering the news than I am, but that's why they're paid the big bucks. Thanks for hanging out with me on this weekend, holiday day, Labor Day. Thank you. Thank you for doing that. I appreciate it. I will see you back here tomorrow.